Good morning. I'm here with Tiffany Seaman, candidate for the Olathe School District USD 233 Member 3 position. On behalf of the Olathe Chamber of Commerce, thank you so much for joining us today for this candidate interview. We appreciate your willingness to serve the Olathe community. So Tiffany, let's get started. Tell me a little bit about yourself and why you are seeking this office.
Absolutely. So I am from Wichita, Kansas, but attended the University of Kansas for special education, elementary education, and I stayed in the metro area. My first position was as a special educator in the Turner School District in Kansas City, Kansas, and that was an amazing opportunity. And then I did serve 9 years in the Olathe School District teaching first and fourth grade. First grade, since I was 7, was always my dream. I had an amazing teacher, and so she inspired me, and I knew early on education was where I wanted to be. So I then was pursuing literacy, and I changed my master's focus from special education to reading. And so I was provided the position to move into a reading and math interventionist position with the Blue Valley School District. So I was a math and reading interventionist for 4 years with Blue Valley, and then our family, thankfully before COVID, had the opportunity to move to Massachusetts for about 16 months. And we just got back in October, decided to move back to Olathe. We love it here, love the diversity and the opportunities. We have 3 kiddos attending the district, ranging from pre-K to grade 3.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing that background. So as a school board candidate, what are your top 3 issues that you see that while you're running?
So obviously, you probably heard literacy is my passion. It's become something that I advocate for. I started the Science of Reading group for the state of Kansas when I returned home in October. And we advocate for literacy throughout the state, different stakeholders throughout the state. So first and foremost, I've been very involved with the state dyslexia initiatives, and I know that's coming through. So that's a real passion for me to encourage the district to make sure that they're choosing evidence-aligned programs. And that can range outside of literacy as well, but I feel like literacy is a keystone to all other areas. So that's one reason. Secondly, I think building partnerships. I think we have great opportunities in Olathe already, but we can only get stronger. So just reaching out to our community more and having those relationships between community, district, parents, families, I think that only ensures that we have stronger learning opportunities for our kids. And then thirdly, I just want to bring back our focus on students. So every decision we're making, I want us to think, is this what's best for our students? Because sometimes all the other kind of things that are happening can get in the way. So just bringing that focus back, making sure all of our stakeholders, community as a whole, is coming together to think about our students and what's best for them.
Great, thank you. Well, let's move into a little bit about school funding, always at the top of discussions for individuals. The Kansas Supreme Court has ruled that the current K through 12 education funding formula is both equitable and adequate. The court, however, has retained jurisdiction over the case to assure that it's maintained. What are your thoughts on the formula and the additional funding that's been added?
So I was just able to view the Kansas State Board of Education meeting that took place the last couple of days. And so this is an area of growth for me. I feel like budget and funding is an area of growth, although I've kind of experienced it being in title schools and general education schools and things. But just to have that background, it's such a complex issue. So I have read more about the Gannon lawsuit that took place, and the problem that we have seen in the past is the base state aid is set for several years, and that doesn't kind of reflect the changes in things that are taking place in the needs of our districts. So with the additional funding that's been provided, the base state aid is set, and that helps avoid that situation so that we have that base aid. Again, though, I think funding is always going to be something that we seek to change and make sure. Like in Turner, just personally for me, when I arrived in my first position, there was absolutely nothing in my classroom, no staplers, nothing. So not having any resources and funding them all on my own, whereas in other districts, those things are provided to me. There's such a difference And so I think we have to keep that in the forefront of our minds too when we're funding. And again, it's complex. But I think that also what was brought up is special education. So obviously, we have to follow the law and guidelines with special education, make sure that that is funded. And oftentimes there isn't enough funding. So districts are reaching into other parts of their budget to fund special education, which I think is foremost and important. But, there are other programs that maybe aren't funded as well because of that. And I'm going to go back to literacy again. I think it all comes back to providing those core foundational skills. So if we make sure that we're catching, early intervention and providing a strong core to begin with, I think that will alleviate some of those costs as well. So complex, something I'm still learning about, but yes, I think it's very important.
Great. Thanks so much. Well, we're going to shift a little bit about with Kansas employers and preparing students for their experience. We have a low unemployment rate in Kansas right now, and really we have workers who are needed in our businesses. How do you see the districts helping to meet the business community's future workforce needs through work-based learning, such as internships, training, other career prep opportunities?
Sure. So, as I said, I grew up in Wichita. And so when I came to Olathe and, notice their unique opportunities for the 21st century academies at the high schools, I thought that was fantastic. I would have loved to have that opportunity. Of course, not all students know what field they might want to go into, but it gives them that opportunity to explore. And that's a direct outreach to our community. So being able to, move into those different career paths and think about, is this the right fit for me? While also working directly within our community and supporting it, and having that support from our community, I think is a great opportunity to help grow and reach out as far in our advanced technical center as well. So maybe they're going into more of a college career path in, those fields, or a technical path, which is great. We're setting them up for any, area that they want to explore. And I think Olathe has just a very unique opportunity to help with that.
Great. And I just have one more question after this. What do you believe the takeaways from the district should be, if any, after going through the COVID-19 pandemic experience?
Absolutely. So that's been quite an emotional time for us all, I think. So I was proud I got to meet with Superintendent Dr. Yeager, I think a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of asked him about the stimulus funding that was coming from that and what kinds of things were happening. And I was happy to hear that we're going to be providing more emotional support, so bringing in more counseling services, things like that, because I think that is very important and going to be key coming out of this. So thinking about students as a whole, their mental health, their emotional health, and well-being. And then I am going to go back to literacy again, because I think that has kind of given us a new lens into the crucial role and the urgency of providing those foundational skills to our students. That's just given us that focus. Parents are able to see that more and kind of where the need is. I also think it's given us a broader picture of teachers and how much they have on their plates and how much they've been balancing, and just an urgency to provide as much extra support that we can for them, and be able to support our students in that way as well. I think it also gives us another perspective of how we are able to adapt and provide learning. So through technology, we have our online virtual academy that's opening in Olathe now. I think that this is the forefront from the pandemic. Having those modes, a lot of students do best in classrooms, but some students do very well and thrive in a virtual or online setting as well. So thinking about different modes and ways we can reach students. And I think the communication piece has been awesome. So we have that communication piece. We're using Zoom right now. It's been wonderful that we are able to do that. And I'm thinking about like parent-teacher conferences. If a parent can't get away from work, we have these options available to communicate and to collaborate. And I don't think that we've thought about that in as much of this way before.
Well, Tammy, thank you so much. I really appreciate hearing your positions, and thank you for sharing them with our members. On behalf of the Olathe Chamber, I wish you the best of luck on your campaign. And if we could be a future resource to you, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity as well. It's been wonderful.